And it is a Monday morning on WNBF and WNBF.com. I'm Bob Joseph with Roger Neel in the studio. And Roger, we are not surprised. There's been such an outpouring of support and congratulations, well wishes to you since you made your official announcement earlier this morning that you intend to retire from full-time duties here at WNBF and also CBS Sports Radio 1360.
Well, thank you. I mean, it's very touching. As you can imagine, it was a very difficult thing to decide. This radio station is, as I said this morning, is a treasure. I think the public understands that, but I hope that they continue to understand because the station over decades has been a lifeline literally to our community. You know, guests that you have on, that I have on, and have had on. We're going back to Bill Parker days and John Leslie and Bernie Fiotti and many, many more. The heritage of this radio station is tremendous, and we've been able to keep it alive, and not only alive, but flourishing, one of the top radio stations in our community. So it was not easy to make that decision, but as you also know from living it as well, you know, with our format, news literally never does sleep, and you're pretty much on call 24/7 indefinitely. And so while that's wonderful in one way, you can't really do a lot outside of the duties, and certainly as a mid-level manager. So I just got to the point in, you know, my age and my career that I thought that it was time to certainly give some time to my family and my wife, who's, you know, when the alarm goes off at 4 o'clock, she gets up too. And I'm going off to work in a job I love, and it's not so much fun for her to get up at 4 o'clock or to deal with, you know, me going in at a snowstorm or staying overnight here when there's a flood or snowstorm. So it was time to relinquish the reins and go on and do some other things that I haven't had time for.
Well, it's well-deserved. In fact, I have to admit, I think you stayed at it much longer than I expected you would, given the amount of work you've done, not just here in Binghamton, but certainly on the road in recent years with the Binghamton University men's basketball team, and so many of the years that you were on the road with the hockey team. And I was going over some of our archive video that people will be able to enjoy in the not-too-distant future, shortly after you started broadcasting hockey, and we're talking about all the great times that you could have on the bus going to all these great hockey cities, both ahead of games and on the way back. Fortunately, you were a younger man at the time.
Thank goodness.
but you put in those hours, and it wasn't just Monday through Friday. As I noted in a little video this morning that I posted on Twitter, you've been busy most of the time 7 days a week in one form or another. You've never worked banker's hours.
No, and you know, part of that, what I've always said to people, because I've had people that say, well, you know, at some point, how long can you do this, and you should cut back, and they would say, well, what do you want to continue to do sports for? And I said, that's why I came here. That's what I wanted to do originally. And I said, you know, when a schedule comes out for sports, now they could change a time, on occasion a date, but not very often. I said, but, you know, if a schedule comes out, say, for basketball in October, and there's a game on January 7th, I know there's a game. From the management part, I couldn't tell you today at 5 o'clock if I'm going to be able to go home. You know, so, I mean, the difference is you can plan things when you're a supervisor or a department head or whatever you want to call it. There is always the aura of what's next and what is going to happen next and what needs covered. And, of course, with our format, as a news format, I'm talking to the school here because you file stories at midnight and 1 and 2 in the morning and on Saturdays, and Kathy's in here, you know, 2 o'clock filing things. But there's no time frame for news breaking. With our format, we can't just walk away Friday and leave it and come back Monday. There's always something that is happening, needs to be covered, needs to be done. And so, you know, it's been a wonderful experience, but it would be nice to just enjoy a cup of coffee and not worry about the phone going off too, you know? So that's part of it too.
And the truth is, it's no secret, you're dedicated to the station, Kathy is dedicated to the station, I am. as hard as we work, there's always this sense that we've never done as much as we want to do. I mean, we work more than 100%. Give all we can until sometimes we reach the point of physical exhaustion, and yet I know that in my sense, in your sense, and Kathy's sense, there's more we could do if only we could.
Well, and a lot of it, I think, has to do with the history of this radio station. It is no secret that AM radio stations around the country over the years have many faded away. And whatever the reasons may be, we have always strived not to let that happen. We were given what I took over as then program director, now called brand manager, back in August of 1986. I felt like I was handed the reins to something that I needed to work as hard as I could on to keep it alive and dispel that myth that AM radio had no relevance. It's so far off the truth that we don't have relevance that it's almost incomprehensible. But that was the feeling in the industry at the time. And we do provide, a lot of information that would not be able to be ascertained anywhere else. So, I think we had a mission. We all have a mission of what a great, tremendous asset WNBF radio is. We've loved it. We continue to love it. And we know that it is a vital part of our community. And it takes work. You just can't walk away from it because, again, the old adage, news never sleeps, and it's very true.
Doing some research over the weekends in preparation for a story I wrote that's now on our website, WNBF.com, and also to talk a bit about your life, how you got into broadcasting. Of course, broadcasting wasn't your first choice. You always wanted to become a Major League Baseball player, and at one point you came to the realistic conclusion that probably wasn't going to happen. One of the things that fascinated me, I found a tidbit in a Pennsylvania newspaper. One of your early broadcast experiences at Westminster College was broadcasting a dance marathon. I think it was supposed to be a 30-hour dance marathon, and that was perhaps the first indication that you were willing to work, and I'm sure in that case, obviously, on a student radio station. That's a volunteer gig. And so even then, at an early age in your 20s, you were willing to put in some long hours for what became your passion.
Sure. Well, we've all seen people in our industry, Bob, who, the industry isn't for them. They want to work 8 to 5 Monday through Friday and be off every weekend and have no call, if you will, to be, covering something at midnight or Saturday in the evening, whatever. So that's fine. Everybody is to their own. We have made the sacrifice to do those types of things because we love it. We genuinely love it. It's not just a job. It's a part of us. I can't really tell me what fuels that in a person. Maybe it's a competitiveness from a sports background. But, at some point, if you want to do a good job, you're willing to put the time in to make it good or great or whatever people deem it, but it shouldn't just rely on, okay, it's X o'clock and I'm leaving and I'll see you. Again, not in what we do. We're trying to cover as much as we can with a small staff, and we've done a fabulous job, I think. But again, it's just different. And whatever that calling is that unlocks it, there is a competitiveness to it, and you feel like you need to do some certain things to make it work and make it work well.
Your commitment to WNBF is crystal clear, and most people in the area also are very much aware of your commitment to the community. You didn't just say, okay, I have job responsibilities with the sports play-by-play or some of the on-air duties, hosting First News, or in the early days, a lot of times filling in for people who were on vacation or were out sick. You also have invested a great deal of time in so many community organizations and so many endeavors that make the Binghamton area a great place to live.
Well, it is a great place to live, and how do you not have a place in your heart for chow? We all can, in a very small way for many of us, understand hunger, and for us it's like not eating in 6 hours. Think about the people that don't have a meal all weekend or are struggling to feed a family maybe have only enough for a meal a day or 2 meals a day. So, what we experience in a usual basis is nothing compared to what they deal with. I've been so impressed with Chow and what they've done. We've tried to help with that. Matter of fact, our station, WNBF, was part of the first Chow Hunger Walk. And it was organized by Roger Conklin, Ken Cable, and some others during that camp, and then Mr. Stanton, and a whole lot more people involved over the years. But that's part of it. American Heart Association. My father passed away of a heart attack. My grandfather had my wife, thank goodness, is recovered, but she had a stroke. So to say that I don't have a major interest in a heart association is way in error. I hate heart disease and stroke. It's a terrible thing, and it's a way to battle back. So those two have been the big, parts. Room Sports Foundation, Greater League of Sports Hall of Fame. Many of those are all wonderful, and they're all a great part of this community. So I think it's part of what we do to help publicize and be a part of these things. And I've very much enjoyed it. I've met so many wonderful people, and this area. You're amazed, I'm sure, too, as I am, at how this area reacts to things. There's a major fundraiser one weekend. You think, well, how in the world can anybody come up with more of a contribution or donation next weekend? And sure enough, they do. It's this area. It's a remarkable area, and I think this is just a fabulous place.
Well, the bottom line is, although your final regular appearance on WNBF as a co-host of First News will be on June 19th, you're staying in the area, you plan to be involved in sports broadcasting, looking forward, and also you'll continue your community involvement.
Sure, and I do plan to continue to do high school football in the fall with Tim Smith, a broadcast partner. We've had a ball doing that. Love to watch the high school teams, and then Binghamton University, once basketball starts again in November, the men's basketball broadcast. I've done those for 22 years, and it's been an incredible pleasure for me to be part of that. We've been able to visit many of the major places in college basketball, for that matter, universities in the nation. We're talking about games at Kansas, Oklahoma, Mexico for a tournament, St. Mary's in Florida, Florida State University, North Carolina, Missouri. I mean, these are places, that people pay fortunes to go watch games at, and I'm able to go there and broadcast the game. It's outstanding. It's wonderful. They've treated me so well, as has the management here with Bar Meeting and Company, Mary Beth Walsh, our manager before Barb. So I've been quite lucky, and the station wants to stay involved. I want to stay involved with these, and hopefully everything works out. Of course, COVID-19 has made so many changes, nobody's quite sure what's ahead in the immediate future, but that's the game plan. Yeah.
We always have to be flexible, now more than ever,
Sure.
and you have been flexible all along for all the various responsibilities. Of course, we will talk a bit more next week before your final broadcast, but I just want to extend my personal congratulations and best wishes to you and Beth as you look forward to retirement.
Well, thank you very much, and again, I appreciate the chance to talk with you, our listeners, and I've been very lucky, and I was hoping that I'd be able to head out for some other endeavors, and that's the game plan. But the company's been great through all this. Part of our boss has been remarkable, and as I said, my wife through all this I can tell you she's looking forward to not hearing the alarm at 4 a.m. as I am. So that'll be coming up in the near future. Thanks.
WNBF's Roger Neel. Thank you so much.
Thank you.